Hello guys, welcome to the Minority Reports. My name is Walter.
I'm Dozié.
And I'm Izu.
So today we want to talk about marrying religion to sexuality. Yes.
Wait, don't introduce me. Remember?
Oh right, that's true.
Oh my God, remember him?
I'm Izu.
Yeah, Izu is,
The boy from around the way.
Yeah, we've had him on our show before. We had so much fun with him. You might remember him from one of our most
viewed
Yeah.
videos actually. The Nigerian
gay culture.
gay culture. Yeah.
And we had so much fun with him. We had to have him on this particular.
Yeah, we had to bring him back.
Yes.
Have him sounds.
Yeah.
And this is
Unpopular demand.
Right.
Allow me to have my moment, please.
Because there is like this constant push and pull, conversation surrounding the ability of people who are gay being Christians,
Or religious in any way actually.
Oh yeah, really, basically religion, and sexuality and the possibility of that happening. And there is, and it's not just, there's always a sentiment that you can't be gay and a Christian at the same time. And there's always been this push from homophobic religious people trying to displace people who are gay from being religious or being in their religious spaces. But I've come to realize that this push isn't just from homophobic religious people who are heterosexual. It's also from those within the community. There are people who are irreligious, gay people who don't believe that you can be gay and be religious at the same time. And so it's a lot of conversations that I've recently, for some weird reason, been encountering a lot, and especially we wanted to talk about that. And so I wanted, like, is it possible for someone to be?
It's actually funny because whilst you were saying that, the whole, I saw myself. I felt like it was speaking to me because I'm also one of those gay persons who feel like you cannot be gay and Christian. Okay, I think I should maybe change. Maybe I should rephrase that. You should not. I don't think it's something you should be. I don't know how you reconcile being gay, being Christian.
Let me rephrase. Why?
Okay, let me address his why. Being Christian, for me, I feel like the centerpiece for Christianity is the Bible. Right? Yes. So the Bible doesn't in any form, the Old, the New Testament, give me validation. Me as a gay man, you as a gay woman, it doesn't give us validation. It to a very large extent it condemns us, and I don't know how a Bible carrying Christian would read these verses, these chapters, and still convince himself that he can be this and he can be gay.
But I mean, you can't read those sort of like passages because people treat Bible like it's something that just fell out of the sky. The Bible is a historical document. It's not something you can read out of the context and the traditions, of the time, and within the culture, in which most of these books were written. And typically when people have these conversations or debates about what religion says or does, it's typically with this very narrow lens of religious practice and then universalizing, because when it comes down to it, like, you cannot divorce religion from the social or economic or political context or where it is practiced, right? The way a young girl will practice Islam in Lagos is not the way a young girl will practice Islam in Kano. So the cultural context and the socio-political context of the place in which the religion is practiced is very crucial too. And like every other aspect of society, because in many ways religion, organized religion is one of the ways we organize in society. Is so you cannot divorce religion from other cultural elements. So what we tend to find in this sort of debates and narratives is people who are within a culture of religious practice that is very retrogressive, then taking their experiences and then universalizing it as the only way that religion could possibly be practiced.
And it's very very interesting, even expounding on what you just said. It's like, because it is very apparent that the way religion was, and I'm talking from a Christian perspective because that's the one I really know, the way Christianity was practiced back when, before it existed, and all these and when all these foundations were laid, it's very apparent that the culture that existed then is vastly different from what now, and that change in the way the cultures are has
translated into change in religious practice.
Exactly, because there are people. I mean, this is a very basic thing, and I can't believe that it's often repeated whenever you want to rebut homophobia with religion. But you do go to cut your hair. You do eat everything there is.
You do like seafood okra soup.
You wear prints and ankara and all those things. And that was not the culture back then, which was criminalized by the Bible that was written then. And so that foundation has been laid. But with knowledge of the culture that was practiced then, like there is a book I'm reading, a book by Mr. Andrews, and it's essentially, she writes all these love stories surrounding the Bible stories that exist, and she was talking about the time of Jezebel, and Jezebel's granddaughter, a princess of Judah, Sheba, was wedded. She was made to marry and they are Baal. I mean, that household, they were in fact the Sheba is a Baal priestess, but she was made to marry a Yahweh priest, and during their marriage the man demanded that she was supposed to abandon her practices as a Baal priestess, that they cannot coexist as man and wife if she stayed as a Baal priestess, because it is written in the good book that when such a thing happens, when you have brought yourself over to the Yahweh side of life, so to speak, you are supposed to turn away from all other idolatry, and if you don't, based on the witness of two or more persons, you can be taken to the Jerusalem gates and stoned. But we do not get that now. You do hear about marriages that have somebody who's Christian and who's Muslim existing, and so that culture has affected that religious practice. There are some things you see in the Bible and be like, my God, this is so archaic.
But we thought the stone, I wonder how they had anything left of building houses.
There has to be so many bloody stones.
The truth is, from the point of a Christian, and knowing that Christianity is based up on Jesus Christ, right? I mean, Christianity is Christ-like, and him being, I'm not gonna lie, he's like my favorite person in the Bible, but still,
I mean, to be quite fair, that isn't even saying much, judging by the standards of the Bible. There's like a lot of shitty characters in the Bible.
Well, true. But he, being him and Jesus that we know, I feel like if a gay Christian is reading what he did, the person would probably want more from him. The fact that he didn't say anything categorically to make us feel accepted by him, and then there's this case of the prostitute that was brought to him. This analogy might not fly with everybody, but it's the closest that I have in my head. The prostitute was brought to him, and he was expected to condemn her, because the Pharisees didn't like what it is that she represented. But he said, go and sin no more. He said, if you're the first, if you're without sin, you should be the first to cast a stone, right? And then people have hinged on that and said, you see, Jesus did not condemn her, Jesus did not do this, but he told her to go and sin no more. So I cannot help but put myself in that situation and feel like he's going to probably tell me the same thing.
But here's the thing, he said go and sin no more, and then he also told the other people, anyone who's without sin, let him be the first to cast a stone. So what does, you cannot take anything outside the context of his entire practice, his entire teaching. So his teaching was love and do not judge. That was his entire teaching, from Zacchaeus to Mary Magdalene, to everybody. And also, like, when we talk about wanting him to have said more about homosexuality, I think it's taking our preoccupation in this time and it's adding to a time where it did not belong, because the historical account of that period, like, they were into everything that was, so it's, and it wasn't, this preoccupation that we have with homosexuality is in many ways constructed, right? So that was a very different time, and if you didn't speak on it, it's because there was an issue. If it was an issue, then he probably would have said something about it.
What people talked about were tax and prostitution, and
let me talk on what he said.
Okay,
the first thing he said, where you said, at least he said, go and sin no more as against being, just because it's like he's saying, I do not particularly accept you or validate what you are, but I'm not going to condemn you because I stand for love, so I'm not going to throw you to I don't think that should make me he did
that is not even, I don't think that's even an accurate representation
of what's what played out.
I can't even be in a position of defending Jesus Christ right now,
and ultimately he did not debase her humanity, and if you recognize that homosexuality is part of who you are, and as opposed to what you do, then you would not feel attacked by him telling her go and sin no more, because even if we want to take it literally, like he said, go and sin no more, we can interpret that to mean that the sin there is the sex work she does, but homosexuality is not a work you do, it is who you are. And so by telling her go and sin no more, if he tells me, if I'm dragged back then, and because I'm found sleeping with a man and I'm dragged to him, and let's just say I'm not wed to the man and I'm dragged to Jesus, and he does all that thing, the stone and all that stuff, and then he tells me to go and sin no more, if I was accepting about who I am, I would not think he's telling me to go and stop being gay. I would say, well, don't go and sleep with another man who you're not wed to, which really was one of the things that was such a problem back then. The boundaries of sex, the the issues of identity isn't what concerned them.
I think on the heels of this, I have to throw out a disclaimer. The truth is, in a normal setting, I probably would be on this team, But I realize that the both of you on, and I have to probably stand for those people who are trying to reconcile and just do not know how to, Because in truth, I wouldn't even say I am this church-going Christian, because I haven't been to church in like a long time, like 2 years. Yeah, that's the truth.
Baby heathen.
But I cannot still say I don't understand the struggles that probably a Christian who's gay is going through, because maybe he would come across stuff like Jesus saying, I'm here to fulfill the scriptures, which is the laws of Moses, and God knows that Moses had a lot of terrible laws. I mean, Leviticus was practically against my existence, but then
and against shellfish and prawns.
Yeah, true. But then Jesus said, "I'm love," and he represents love, right? I mean, love your neighbor as yourself. That's basically who Jesus, what Jesus was for. I understand that, but I do.
And here's the thing: what I find very baffling, especially when it comes from irreligious gay people. I feel like you are in some sort of way, when you are constantly trying to displace a gay Christian from worshipping, you are in some sort of way basically serving as an echo chamber for the homophobic religious people who are straight. And it's all sorts of parallels where you are at the same time also giving them leeway more than you're giving to somebody who is in your community, because it's like you are irreligious, yes, and by that you have accepted that homosexuality is normal for you. It's your humanity. And then there's this other person who is basically on the same boat as you, has accepted that his humanity is homosexuality, and that there's nothing wrong with that, except that he's on a different boat where he needs also to believe in the higher understanding of an existence of God.
Yeah.
You just don't believe in that. The difference between you two is that you believe and you don't believe and he
And he
believes.
believes.
But you two have made the decision that you are whole as homosexuals. But the homophobe is trying to tell that person that he's not whole and that the Bible condemns him. And you're telling him the same thing. And it's like you're creating a lot of leeway for somebody who is the homophobe that is telling the person that you are condemned by the Bible.
Yes.
And you're also enabling that weaponization of the Bible or the religion or the faith. So it feels like a level of internalized homophobia. I feel that happens with, because it's like I just feel like if you've accepted that the problem isn't homosexuality, and this person has accepted that as well, then you shouldn't have a problem with the fact that he has made that peace. And I'm sorry to, it's just we accept that heterosexual Christians cherry pick their way through the Bible to be able to exist in our current climate.
Yeah.
We accept that for them, and we do not hold them accountable for that. I mean, you see an average Christian coming out of the barber shop, and it's fine. You don't whip up the Bible and be like, oh, how dare you go into the barber shop to cut your hair.
Yeah.
You see somebody wearing Ankara, you don't bring out the Bible to condemn the person. You see somebody eating an array of meals, and you don't bring out the Bible. But the moment you see a gay Christian going into church, it's like, so now I have to bring out the Bible to condemn you for it. But it doesn't make sense that you understand that cherry picking through the Bible exists, and you give that allowance to heterosexual Christians. You understand that we live in an age that makes room for the fact that there are some things that can't exist, that some laws that are laid down in the Bible that can't exist now. You understand that, and you make room for the heterosexual Christians to live in that reality. But the moment it's a gay Christian, then we have to go back to Leviticus.
It's almost like, you know, when you get divorced from someone, or you break up with somebody and then they move on to have a happy relationship. It's like, how dare you be happy? I wanted that for myself.
I mean, that's ridiculous, because I'm not even, because I know I was involved in this conversation at one point with someone, and they made reference to, oh, are you being a low-key Christian or something?
That's a low-key Christian.
Let's get judgy about that. And I'm like, no, you don't do that. The fact that I'm not religious doesn't mean I do not recognize the right of someone else to practice that religion. So I'm basically, I had my struggle with that too. I had my struggle with religion, and I, as far back as 2014 was the last time I went into a church for the purpose of worship, as opposed to maybe marriages or instruments and all that. That was the last time I went to church. But I know that is my own personal journey. I know that is what I could not marry my sexuality to my religion, and so I had to drop out of that. But I don't impose that. I understand there are people who need to believe in somebody or something higher than them.
I totally
so if you raise me whenever we encounter, I mean, I get why homophobes have to homophobe their way through life. I get that, and I don't hold. I mean, I think of that as stupidity. But when this weaponization comes from irreligious gay people, it's like, but seriously, how can you even stand on this moral high ground?
Coming from on the light of what you said, in light of what you said, Rafa, I probably feel the same way as well. I mean, being someone that used to be really Christian and Catholic, and then having these encounters.
You guys have the monopoly on guilt.
And having these encounters with monks, and altar service that will make a pass at you, and even feel very confident being on that pulpit and still making those passes. I could stand and condemn, and because of my own experiences, the way I feel about them, but I wouldn't do that because I understand that it's my own personal struggle. And in as much as all those things have happened to me, I've not been able to take myself out of the fact that I respect the idea of a sovereign being, and I believe in a sovereign being, and all of the spiritual things that have happened to me over the years. I cannot just categorically say I do not believe in anything, but then again, I'm not going to take myself into a church. I'm not going to.
Just spiritual
I'm not going to do the shake your partner in church, because I will be shouting in my head that you pretend that you rapist, and all that. But I will not.
Do not judge.
The Bible said a lot of things, please. So but I'm not going to also project and say you cannot do this because of my own sentiment.
I find that especially, usually when there's a conversation I have been part of and the person led with "you can't be gay and Christian," and it's like, I just, before we even begin to explore that, I just have a problem with that dismissive authority. You can't.
I'm laying down the law.
Like
you can't be gay and Christian.
It's like,
consider yourself invalidated.
Islam. I don't know. There's a constitution where this that has espoused all these reasons why it should, that religion is a very vicious institution that has years of being very problematic, and so gay people should not contribute to the power that the religion represents. It's all well and good.
What does that even mean? Really?
Listen, it's a conversation that makes a lot of sense if you have it, but you can talk about the problem that religion is without trying to invalidate the experiences of someone, the peace that someone finds in worshiping God. Like, you can't say religion is a problem and discuss the merits and demerits of that while not dismissing the validation the person gets from worshiping God. I just feel like it's nuanced, and it's like, does it say, like, this exploitation of our grievances because of how regressive our society is in the practice of religion into how it should be for everyone.
The short and long of everything we've been saying is that you can be whatever you want to be. You can understand who you are. You should understand that you can be gay, you can be Christian, and you're very valid.
Whatever beliefs, because this weaponization of who you are against someone else can also come from those who are gay and Christian. Like, as in the same way we're basically saying, if you are irreligious, if you don't believe, do not weaponize what if you
your battery's about to die again.
Against a person who's a practicing Christian. You should also, as a gay Christian, be responsible for yourself and not turn it on someone else.